May envy never wear the face of a sister. May the river never turn kindness into scales. May the drums of our village never fall silent because of one jealous heart. So spoke the elders of Arocco, warnings whispered like smoke over the evening fire. But who listens to warnings when life is sweet, when dawn begins with songs and laughter? No one believed, until the curse found flesh, until love was drowned by envy. Stay with me. Like this tale, share it and subscribe if you wish to hear the truth behind this river's secret. For what I am about to tell you is not only a story of betrayal, but a lesson carved into memory. In Arocco harmony looked eternal. The sun rose and found children chasing goats, women pounding yam in rhythm, and drums echoing across the plain. The air smelled of roasted maize, the ground shook with dance, and every face seemed painted with joy. Yet harmony is fragile, like a pot of clay balanced on trembling fingers. One slip, one shadow, and it shatters. Here lived Nia, daughter of Kofi and Ebele. She was born after years of longing, her first cry a trumpet of hope, her name meaning purpose, radiance. Villagers said her laughter could lift a quarrel from the ground and scatter it like chaff in the wind. Her eyes were wide, her smile quick, her kindness steady, but light always casts a shadow, and that shadow had a name, Ama, daughter of Kofi and another woman, brought into the house not by joy but by pressure, by politics, by the relentless demand for an heir. Ama's mother, bitter as Neem, whispered into her daughter's ears, "Do not let Nia outshine you. What should be yours must never rest in her hands." So while Nia grew into grace, Ama grew into hunger. Hunger for recognition, for love, for a crown she thought stolen from her cradle. The river had already marked them. The drums had already warned. For jealousy is not a guest that knocks at the door. It seeps under the threshold, it curls into corners, it grows silently until the day it bursts and floods. This is the tale of two sisters, one whose light drew blessings, one whose shadow plotted curses. It is the tale of a river that swallowed love and returned it as scales and fins. It is the tale of a village that danced in ignorance until truth exploded in the marketplace, until silence fell heavier than any drumbeat. Listen closely, for before the laughter dies and the water turns dark, before the curse reveals its teeth, we must go back to the first seed of envy, to the first shadow cast at dawn. Stay, for what you are about to hear will haunt you long after the drums of Arocco fall silent. The village of Arocco was a tapestry woven from sunlight, dust, and drumbeats. Every dawn the sound of pestles pounding yam mingled with the laughter of children chasing goats, while the river's murmur kept its eternal rhythm. Smoke rose from clay hearths, carrying prayers skyward. To a stranger, Arocco looked eternal, untouched by sorrow. But eternity, like clay, can crack. In this village grew Nia, the long-awaited daughter of Kofi and Ebele. Her parents had prayed for years, pouring libations at the shrine, whispering hopes into the river. When she was born, it was said the entire village danced 3 nights without rest. They named her Nia, meaning purpose, radiance, for she was the dawn they thought might never come. From childhood, Nia embodied gentleness. Her wide eyes shone with kindness, her smile disarmed anger. At festivals, her laughter carried further than the drums. She learned weaving from her mother, her slim fingers braiding raffia mats with precision. She fetched water before sunrise, balancing clay pots with elegance that seemed almost divine. To the widows and orphans she brought food. To strangers she gave water. Nia's generosity became her crown, though she never sought one. But shadows lurked in the same household. Ama, her half-sister, was born of Kofi's second wife, a union forged not by love, but by family pressure for heirs. From her first steps, Ama was told she must fight for her place. Her mother whispered bitterness into her ears. "What Nia has, you deserve more. Do not let her shine while you fade." Ama grew tall and slender, with sharp cheekbones and dark eyes. Villagers admitted her beauty, but Beauty without kindness is like a drum without sound, hollow, empty. Where Naya attracted warmth, Amma seemed to repel it. She stood at festivals but rarely joined the dance. She watched her sister's joy with lips pressed tight, her silence louder than words. Still the family endured. The father, Kofi, tried to balance both daughters under one roof. He praised Nia's goodness but urged Amma to show patience, yet patience is a seed that refuses to grow in cracked soil. Amma did not want to share light. She wanted to eclipse it. The village, blind in its celebration of harmony, did not notice the fracture deepening. To them, the two girls were sisters, branches of one tree. But while Nia's branch stretched toward the sun, Amma's twisted into shadow. The landscape reflected this contrast. When Nia walked to the river, even birds seemed to sing louder, children running beside her, beads jingling at her ankles. When Amma walked the same path, silence trailed her, as if the earth itself withheld its music. The elders warned, a house divided by envy is a hut already aflame. Fire may not burn today, but tomorrow it will leave only ash. But warnings, like seeds, need fertile soil. In Aruko, the soil of envy had already begun to crack open. Thus the stage was set, a radiant daughter whose kindness bound the village together, and a bitter sister whose envy grew like weeds choking a garden. The sun rose daily, but beneath its golden glow a shadow thickened. The drums still thundered, yet their rhythm carried an undertone of storm. And though the villagers danced, though laughter still rose, fate had already chosen its path. The years passed, and the harmony within Kofi's household began to tremble. Though Naya blossomed into grace, Amma's heart darkened like clouds before a storm. It began with whispers, subtle comparisons made by villagers, harmless in tone but heavy as stones to Amma's ears. Look at Naya's kindness. See how the elders favour her. How brightly she dances. Each word etched jealousy deeper into Amma's soul. But the true spark came not from the villagers, but from within the family. After 10 years, Kofi and Ebele had no second child. Relatives began murmuring, "Who will inherit? What if there is no son?" These words fell on Kofi like hammers. For though he loved Nia dearly, the culture demanded a male heir. And so, under pressure, he listened to his relatives' urging, "Take a second wife." Amma's mother returned to his house, her lips curling in satisfaction. She carried with her not only her daughter's resentment, but her own bitterness toward Ebele. The moment she stepped back into the household, harmony cracked like dry clay. Amma now had an ally, and her envy sharpened. She mocked Nia in small ways. "The village loves you today, but tomorrow they will see you are only a girl." She whispered venom at festivals, her words hidden beneath the drum beats. Ebele, though wounded, held her silence, but silence, too, can bleed. When Amma's mother bore another daughter, her disappointment boiled into cruelty. She had boasted she would give Kofi a son, that her line would surpass Nia. Instead, her own failure deepened her hatred. She poured that venom into Amma, who now grew restless, desperate to claim what was never hers. Amma began to spread shadows in the village. She twisted words, sowing doubt. Is Nia truly as pure as she seems? Does she not take too much praise? Some villagers laughed, dismissing her envy, but seeds of suspicion were planted, and Amma smiled, for envy delights in cracks. The true fracture came when emissaries from a neighbouring kingdom visited. They sought a bride for their prince, and upon seeing Naya's grace and kindness, they whispered, "This is the one." They promised to return with a formal proposal. Amma's world collapsed in that moment. In her mind, Naya was not only loved by the village, but chosen to become a princess. Her envy, once a whisper, became a scream. That night, her mother clasped her hand and hissed, "Do not let her steal everything. Do not let her become a queen while you stand in shadow." From then on, Amma's eyes burned whenever she looked at Nia. She trailed her like a shadow, waiting, watching, and the river, ancient and patient, listened. The whispers of envy turned into storms within Amma's chest. What began as small comparisons, what began as a mother's poisoned words, now became the river that pulled her deeper with each passing day. At first it was glances. Amma's eyes lingered too long on Nia's laughter, her fists curling when villagers praised her sister. Then came the words, cruel remarks tossed like stones. You think kindness feeds the stomach. You think laughter builds a house. Nia ignored them, but silence only sharpened Amma's blade. One night, Amma dreamed of the river. She stood on its bank, the moon cold above her, the water whispering secrets in a voice that was not human. If you wish for her light to drown, bring her here. Let envy do what envy must. Amma awoke trembling, sweat cold on her brow, but the dream returned the next night, and the next, until it was no longer a dream, but a command. She began to follow Nia to study her steps. At the market, at the river, in the festivals, Amma watched, plotting. Her mother's voice urged her, do not let her wear the crown. Strike before the elders return. Meanwhile, the emissaries came again, bringing word that the prince desired Nia as his bride. Villagers cheered, drums thundered, women sang. But in Amma's ears the drums mocked her. Each beat was a hammer against her ribs. Each cheer was a dagger. Amma's eyes darkened. She no longer saw Nia as sister, but as thief, and the river, patient as ever, awaited. The day of the journey arrived. According to tradition, Nia would be escorted to the neighbouring kingdom, her face veiled, accompanied by her half-sister Amma and a loyal maid. Parents wept at the farewell, promising to see their daughter again when the first year of marriage ended. The path was long and the river lay ahead, a river feared by all, said to change whoever swam in it into something less than human. The villagers avoided it, calling it cursed. Amma walked beside Nia, her mind burning. At the riverbank she smiled falsely. Sister, the journey has wearied you. They say a bride must be her most beautiful when she meets her groom. Bathe here, in this river, and your beauty will shine brighter. Nia hesitated. The stories of the cursed river pressed against her heart. No, Amma, this river is dangerous. Amma's smile hardened. Her eyes flickered with fury. So you think yourself wiser, too pure to listen to your own sister? The maid, sensing danger, tried to intervene. Let us go on. The road is long. The prince awaits. But envy does not wait. Amma shoved Nia with all her strength. The river swallowed her, her scream cut short by water. In an instant her body twisted, her skin shimmered into scales, her limbs dissolved into fins. Where once stood a radiant bride, there swam a magnificent fish, eyes wide with sorrow. The maid screamed, but Amma seized her arm. Say a word, and you will join her in the depths. The maid, terrified, nodded, her lips sealed by fear. Amma took Nia's garments, dressed herself in the veil and jewels meant for her sister. She straightened her back, painted her face with false humility, and led the maid forward. Behind them, the river whispered. The fish that was once Nia leapt, tail glistening, as if begging the sky to see her. But the sky remained silent, the drums of fate already beating. That night, Amma lay awake in the prince's palace, the jewels heavy on her skin. But sleep did not come, for in her dreams she heard the river. She heard her sister's voice, soft, mournful. Light cannot be drowned, truth cannot be buried, the drums will speak. Amma awoke in terror, her heart pounding, but she told herself lies. She is gone. I have won. I am the bride. Yet envy never rests, and guilt is a drum that beats in silence until it bursts. The palace of the neighbouring kingdom welcomed Amma with drums and dancing. To the villagers and nobles, she was the radiant bride promised by the emissaries. Veiled in jewels that did not belong to her, she smiled falsely, bowing before the king, the queen, and the prince. The feast began, music soaring, laughter filling the hall. But beneath the veil, Amma's heart thudded not with joy, but with fear, for shadows are never. Each night the maid, heavy with grief, slipped out of the palace with food. She walked to the cursed river, sang softly, and from the depths rose a shimmering fish. Its scales glowed like silver, its eyes mournful yet filled with recognition. It was Nia, her voice trapped in water, her soul tethered to the current. The maid wept as she fed her, whispering prayers but secrets never stay hidden. One evening, the prince, curious about the maid's nightly absences, followed quietly. In the shadows, he watched her kneel at the riverbank, singing her haunting melody. And then he saw it, the magnificent fish rising, its eyes human, its sorrow unmistakable. His breath caught. He understood. The next day, he summoned his parents and the elders in secret. The maid, trembling, was brought before them. At first she feared punishment, but the prince spoke gently. "Tell us the truth. You're safe here." Her voice broke as she revealed Amma's treachery, the betrayal at the river, and the transformation that bound Nia. Gasps filled the chamber. The queen pressed her hand to her mouth. The king's brows thundered. The elders groaned. They devised a plan to gather the people, to bring Amma, and to summon the river's witness. That evening, under the watch of drums, the villagers crowded near the riverbank. Amma stood dressed as a queen, her smile brittle, her eyes darting. She did not know what awaited her. The maid stepped forward, sang her haunting song. The river stirred. From its depths Nia emerged once more, a fish glistening beneath the fading light. Gasps erupted, cries filled the air. Some villagers screamed, some fainted, the drums fell silent. The truth had risen, undeniable. "Seize her!" the king roared. But before the guards moved, 10 fishermen cast their nets. The fish was lifted from the river, scales shimmering like tears. They carried it to the shrine of the native doctor, where sacred rites began. For 7 days, fire burned, herbs smoked, drums beat softly in rhythm. On the 7th day, before the gathered crowd, the fish split, dissolved, and from the steam stepped Nia, alive, radiant, her veil restored, her beauty unbroken. The people erupted. Cheers shook the earth. Drums thundered. Women ululated. Men wept openly. Parents embraced their daughter, sobbing in joy. The prince fell to his knees, thanking the gods for justice. And Amma? Her mask cracked. She screamed, denying, clawing at the air, but her lies had no strength. The villagers turned on her, shouting curses. The king's voice cut through the chaos. "For envy that drowned a sister, for treachery against a prince, you shall be cast out." Amma and her mother were dragged before the assembly. Their cries were drowned by the thunder of drums. They were banished to the evil forest, condemned to wander where no light could reach. The explosion of truth had come. The drums of Oroko, once silent, now pounded louder than ever. Justice had spoken. The drums of Oroko thundered with joy, but within that joy echoed a warning. Harmony cannot be built on envy. Nia stood reborn, her veil restored, her beauty radiant, yet her heart carried scars. For though she lived again, she had tasted betrayal from the very blood that shared her father's name. The villagers praised her, lifting their voices as though she were not merely a bride, but a miracle returned from the dead. Mothers pointed at her and whispered to their daughters, "Be kind, be patient, for kindness endures." Fathers raised their sons onto their shoulders, telling them, "See how envy destroys, see how truth rises." But Nia herself remained quiet. She walked slowly through the crowd, embracing her weeping parents. Her mother Ebele pressed her face into her daughter's shoulder, sobbing, "You were light once taken from me. Now you return, brighter still." Her father Kofi could only kneel, humbled, whispering prayers of repentance for bringing division into his house. Amma and her mother, cast into the evil forest, became a tale themselves. No one spoke their names without spitting. Children were warned, if you let envy grow, you will walk where Amma walks, among shadows. The once proud woman who had sought to secure power through her daughter was now reduced to a ghost of memory, her ambition devoured by the very forest she had mocked. The people of Arocco rebuilt harmony, but this time with watchful eyes. Festivals were celebrated not only for joy but for remembrance. The drummers struck their hands against skin stretched taut, chanting, "Let no sister betray sister, let no heart choose envy." In the prince's palace, Nia became more than a bride. She was honoured as a woman who endured darkness and returned. Her kindness did not harden into cruelty, instead it deepened. She fed the poor, lifted the forgotten, healed with patience, and because of her the kingdom itself grew gentler. The maid, once trembling in fear, was rewarded for her loyalty. The prince's younger brother, moved by her courage, took her hand in marriage. Together they built a home where truth and devotion were honoured, where children learned that loyalty is not weakness, but strength. The story of Nia spread beyond Arocco, beyond the kingdom. Travellers carried it, storytellers recited it, and mothers sang it into lullabies. It became not only a tale of betrayal, but a scripture of resilience. For if kindness could survive the river, if truth could survive deceit, then hope could survive anything. The elders concluded the tale with a single truth. Evil thrives where envy is watered. Love without respect is not love. Choices made in secret will become punishments in daylight. And so, the drum spoke once more, not of celebration alone, but of remembrance, of warning, of truth. The story of Nia and Amma is not only a tale, it is a mirror. How many homes have been broken by envy? How many hearts wounded because love was not given with respect? If this story has touched you, share your thoughts in the comments. Your voice matters, for stories live not only on the tongue of the storyteller, but in the hearts of those who listen. If you believe that truth should always rise, click like. If you wish to hear more tales that carry both warning and wisdom, subscribe. If you know someone who needs this reminder that envy destroys, that kindness survives, then share this story with them. Until the next tale, may your choices lead to light and not to darkness. May your heart remain free from envy, and may your home be filled with harmony.